I've never been jealous of Mike Ross in my entire life.
And I just caught you in a lie.
Objection, Your Honor.
That's a great moment, right? What's wrong with it? Mark Breyer, career trial lawyer with the husband and wife law team. So the stuff you see on TV all the time, I actually do this. And so how is it different between TV, movies, and real life? Let's go through some of these scenes and have some fun together.
Given that you smoked all this pot, Mr. Evans, isn't it possible that if Mike Ross commuted one day a week to Harvard Law, that you might not remember that?
I'd remember.
Yeah, maybe you would, but you'd lie through your teeth about it anyway, wouldn't you?
Objection.
That was pretty cool. Objection. You actually have to say what your objection is. And here's something interesting. Some judges will let you get away with general things like objection and objection hearsay, but some will go, please tell me the specific rule you're citing. They want to know Rule 803, subparagraph 6. So it's very interesting if you get into courtrooms and you have a judge that's a stickler, you better be prepared to say more than just objection. Although, in that case, the objection was pretty obviously argumentative.
Well, how about if the other reason was to get back at someone you've been jealous of your entire life?
I've never been jealous of Mike Ross in my entire life.
And I just caught you in a lie.
Objection, Your Honor.
That's a great moment, right? What's wrong with it? When you're a lawyer, you're only allowed to ask questions. So I just caught you in a lie, forgetting the fact that it was argumentative and unprofessional and maybe even unethical. I want you to put that to the side for a minute. You're allowed to ask questions. So a lot of times TV, movies, lawyers will make statements like, I just caught you in a lie. You can say, did I just catch you in a lie? Or do you understand why people might think you were lying about that? Or we're about to ask you some questions that suggest that what you just said isn't true. So there's some things you can do if it ends in a question. Some things that aren't true. Would you like to go down that path? You have to end it in a question. It is a question and answer process. So there's no room for, I just caught you in a lie. Another problem with that is when you say, I just caught you in a lie, you're testifying, but you're not under oath. You're just the lawyer. So you're not allowed to make statements like that. The only time you get to make statements to the jury are an opening and closing. Outside of that, your job is to ask questions, which if you do really well, you ask questions that are officially questions, but you're also making your point.
Mr. Evans, my next move is going to be to call Jenny Griffith to the stand, and she's going to testify that you lied to her for years.
Totally objectionable, because what is he doing? He is telling the jury what he's going to do next. That is not a question. He is allowed to ask the question. Why do we see that all the time in TV and the movies? One, super interesting and effective. Two, because the movies have to speed things up, and that's why you've ever been on a jury, you're like, why can't they get to the point? They can't get to the point because you can't just say, here's what I'm about to do next. You're stuck with the questions until you get the witness on the stand. Or you already shared an opening what you're going to do, but you got to be careful because then he would have already known it was coming.
When she found out about it, she left you for Mike Ross.
Objection, badgering.
She's also going to say that you were jealous of his mind.
See what just happened? He made a big statement about what he's going to do. There was an objection. What happened after the objection? Nothing. That's not how objections work. When you object, the judge has to rule on the objection. So let's say the judge sustained badgering. What good is that anyway? If the judge had sustained badgering, then the lawyer who objected could say move to strike. And then the judge may have turned to the jury and said, I want you to ignore everything you've just heard. It is stricken from the record, which gets into a whole other problem because you can't actually unhear what you already heard.
And when you found out that she left you for him, you were as jealous as a human being can be. Now, is that true or not?
Your Honor.
Let me rephrase. Is Miss Griffith going to be perjuring herself, or are you?
That's a lot of fun. The problem is that it's facts, not in evidence. He just said this other witness is going to get up on the stand and then basically who's perjuring themselves, you or her, except for she hasn't said that yet. All you've done is say what she's going to say, and then you ask the question. Now, is there a way around that? Sure. You could ask questions instead of make statements. If this other witness gets up on the stand and says that she broke up with you because you're a drug dealer and that you were unbelievably jealous, would that be true or not? If someone were to say that, would they be lying? So there's a lot of things you can do. None of them include what's happening here.
Yeah, I was jealous of him.
Ooh, that was good. I was jealous of him. That was very good. How often do you think in real life when you talk to people, they say one thing and then immediately admit that they lied to you? Doesn't happen a lot. How often does it happen on the stand? Because, they're under oath. There's a jury there. There's a lot more pressure. So do you think people are more likely to admit that they just lied than, when you're talking to them? Probably not. Maybe even less likely. That's a great moment. That's a Perry Mason-esque moment. Very cool. Moves the story forward, not taking anything away. Great script writing, great acting, all that stuff. If people won't even admit to you when they're lying about the fact that they stopped by McDonald's on the way home and they weren't supposed to, if they won't come out after denying it and then admit it, How often is that going to happen on the stand? In my experience, it's not likely to happen. It can happen, but even then it's usually because they get tripped up and realize later they made a mistake, not because they go, okay, yeah, let me fess up. Because you just fessed up to lying under oath, not something most of us are willing to do.
And if he lied about all of that, what's to make us believe that he wasn't lying about everything else?
There we go. Last time. What did he just do? He just made a closing argument. That is not a question. What he's doing right now is cross-examination. He is only allowed to use cross-examination. What's funny is a skilled trial lawyer could look right at the jury and say, and you never know when your wife's going to reach out to you. You could be in the middle of talking about what happened in an episode of Suits, and there comes the wife. And when you work with the wife and you're married to the wife and you have 8 kids with the wife, you got to at least check and text her real quick when she reaches out. But here's what a lot of skilled lawyers will do. And it takes practice and it takes comfort in the courtroom. You get a great moment like that. You know, you can't just make a statement like, and if he would lie about that, what else would he lie about? You know, you can't do that. But you can turn to the jury and you can say something like, if you would lie about that, what would prevent you from lying about everything else here today? You're looking right at the jurors. You're making a statement. But the official transcript from the trial reporter, from the court reporter, is what? You asking a question. And even if it's stricken as asked and answered, or cumulative, or argumentative, badgering the witness, what's the difference? You made your point in front of the jury. As long as the judge thinks it was done as a reasonable question, you're probably going to be fine.
But I can try to memorize my speech, but I can't. Because it's bullshit.
I understand it's 2025. You're swearing a lot more than you used to. A lot of t-shirts and hats have swear words. People on the back of their cars have swear words. I was at lunch today and 2 guys next to us were swearing up a storm. Whatever, it doesn't matter to me. And my wife and I are with our 17-year-old. We can all handle it, but it's happened more and more. However, swearing in court, it happens. It is still probably the last place where it happens. And so a lawyer standing up and saying, yeah, that's bullshit. You get the wrong judge. The courtroom is cleared. You may get referred to the bar. I'm not saying it would happen. It depends on context, but it is not nearly as loose in a courtroom as it is in most places.
I am bullshit.
Especially say it twice.
And all I can say is that I promise you, whether these people find me innocent or not, I am going to spend the rest of my life fighting for the Clifford Danners of this world.
Obviously, everything about this is a little bit different because usually you don't give a closing statement in the trial that's about you. However, lawyers have to be very careful about ever avowing anything in court. His opportunity to say that in this very unusual situation of this absolutely brilliant dude that, to be fair, fictional, he's testifying. So you can make argument. There's a wide latitude in argument. Here's the word you have to be careful of when giving closing argument. You can't say things like, I found this witness to be credible. No, you are purposely avowing something that you are not allowed. You're allowed to argue. So you could say, I'm willing to bet with the way that Mr. Smith looked you in the eye and handled everything. Every one of you found him credible. Anyone we suspect would see that and find him credible, as opposed to, I saw Mr. Smith and he was really credible. That's the equivalent of what we're watching here.
During your time at Pearson Specter Lit, did anyone there have knowledge of the fact that you were a fraud?
I knew. And if you're looking for a scalp, you can have mine. But I was under the impression that this hearing was not about my old firm, but whether or not Mr. Ross should be a lawyer.
I don't do any administrative law. I have no idea what the hell is going on here. But I can tell you this, the rules in a courtroom and the rules in administrative hearings like these, totally different. In most of them, the rules of evidence either barely apply or do not apply at all. Sometimes the formalities are out the window, or so I've heard, because if you see me, I'm fighting the rules of evidence, usually in a courtroom. Let's see what my wife is saying. Where are you? I am in conference room number 2, filming content. It is awesome. You should be here. I'm responding to a whole bunch of really cool things that happen in a courtroom in the show Suits. But go ahead, you keep doing work on real cases and I'll keep moving the world forward like it needs to be.
The plaintiff would like to call Miss Donna Paulson to the stand.
By the way, as a quick aside, everyone loves Suits. And I tried to watch Suits, but I couldn't get into Suits. I think it was just so hard for me to get past the fact that this dude, spoiler alert, give you a second to pause. If you're still listening, that's on you. You had plenty of time to watch Suits, and you had plenty of time to pause. This guy never went to law school. We know it right away. And I just couldn't get past that. Now I see that in season 1, they find a way past that. I didn't know. Maybe I'll go give this show another shot. All right, let's do one more scene.
Did Harvey Specter order you to shred that document?
I declined to answer pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights.
Did you put your date stamp on that document?
I declined to answer.
I'm not going to ask questions that you're just going to plead the fifth to, so.
We handle civil cases. We don't do any criminal law. However, here's where it's common. Someone gets drunk, they drive, they hurt my client. Now I'm going against them. I'm not going against them to put them in prison. Do they still have a Fifth Amendment right that they can take if I ask them questions under oath? Yes. The Fifth Amendment protects them until the end of their criminal case. And so I have cases where the defendant still wants to use the Fifth Amendment to not answer my questions that I need answered. So you just saw what happened. Ask a question, I take the Fifth. Ask a question, take the Fifth. He's like, I'm done. A lot of lawyers do that. In fact, a lot of lawyers I know won't even take those depositions because they know the person's going to take the Fifth. Yeah, I disagree. Let me tell you why. We are in a civil courtroom, not a criminal courtroom, when we're involved, when we're helping someone who's been hurt because of a drunk driver or some other criminal act. Therefore, the jury is allowed in many states, is actually instructed to in other states, assume that the person who's taking the Fifth has a reason they're taking the Fifth. This is not criminal. I want to ask every possible question I can ask and force them to take the Fifth. I think I had one time, I don't remember why I went this far, but I think I asked about an hour of questions in a conference room right behind us where you can't see right now, where the witness took the Fifth over and over and over because I didn't want them to be able to show up in court. And by then the criminal case is over and they're answering all these questions. The jury's like, wow, they're really credible. And I wanted to be able to ask every question I was going to ask and show. And they were asked that question before they took the Fifth. So now they have this great thing about how they did nothing wrong, but they had a chance to tell me that and they chose not to.
Oh, see, you're pausing, which means you're hiding something.
No, I'm not.
See, I think you'd do anything for him, and I know why.
Is there a question?
Ooh, look at that. Excellent point. I think you do anything for it. Is there a question? No, that wasn't a question. That would have been stricken from the record. And if it kept happening, the judge would probably have a stern talking to the lawyer who keeps wanting to testify instead of asking questions.
What?
Do you love him?
That has nothing to do with...
It has everything to do with. Why'd your last boyfriend break up with you? Miss Paulson, why'd he end it with you?
He thought that I prioritized my work over our relationship.
Your work. He asked you to choose between him and Harvey, didn't he?
Yes.
Who'd you choose? Answer the question.
Louis.
You're with him all the time. Your work revolves around him. Your life revolves around him.
Objection. Badgering.
You don't have a boyfriend, but the one you did wouldn't share you with him.
So let me get this straight. If a woman who loves her career and cares about the person she works with chooses her career over a boyfriend that gives her an ultimatum, that means she's doing something wrong and she must be personally in love and she's making a choice for her love as opposed to her work. This is the kind of stereotype that we cannot allow anymore. Anyway, it's a great scene. Totally devoid of most things that could happen in reality, but still an interesting scene. If you want to hear more from a trial lawyer, looking at these clips, you want to hear what we do with the husband-wife law team and a real lawyer, not like a lawyer who says they're one on TV, make sure you subscribe, follow for more.